Hello, I'm Graham Fitch, coming to you from Steinway Hall in London for Pianist Magazine. Thank you all so much for being here. We're looking at exercises. Do we need to do them? Which ones do we do? How are we supposed to do them? So the bottom line, and I'll give you this before we even start, the bottom line is it depends on how you do them. It's not so much the ones that you do or the ones that you don't do, but it's how we do them that counts. It matters for everything. So we can use exercises either to warm ourselves up, the beginning of the practice, or if we've had a little break from the piano for a while, it's a really nice idea to go through a little routine. Could be what used to be called finger exercises. Well, I'm going to show you how that's a dangerous thought, finger exercises. We've also got double notes, double thirds, we've got octaves, we've got chords, we've got repeated notes, a whole battery of different exercise categories that we typically find in books like Behringer, Dognani, Tankard and Harrison seem to all do that, kind of break them down into sections. We can also use exercises to develop a particular technical knack. They don't have to be complicated. They don't have to be written down. They should be really easy to remember. We can use things like 5-finger positions. So let's say we are a piano teacher and we have a student who's struggling with a 2 against 3 in a particular piece, a polyrhythm, 2 against 3. We could make the simplest of exercises by using the black key and the white key patterns, like this. Or the other way round. A 2 against a 3, right? I could also do that on a 5-finger position. Let me take a whole tone position. It fits the hand better. So. And I strolled my way through that until both E's coincided again. And of course, don't forget to do that the other way around. Put the 3's in the left hand. Now, I wonder if you've noticed what I'm doing with those notes. I'm not playing them mechanically. I'm not playing them boringly or boredly or in any way unmusically. I'm adding little shapes. Did you hear? Let me just see if I can do it again. Phrasing, if you will, so that they always sound good. So there's a rule at the piano. Whatever we're doing at the piano has to feel good. And it has to sound good. Doesn't matter what it is. We should aim for technical perfection in that. Supposing I am, again, a piano teacher who has got a student there who's struggling with drop-roll slurs, the down-up slurs that we find so often in music. That's a drop-roll slur. We could easily invent an exercise that hops the octave. Maybe 3 octaves. And if I'm ready for now 3-note drop roll slurs, down and up. See, the material itself is simple enough for me to remember without having to read it. I don't have to worry about complicated musical situations. I can put all my attention on the physical demands or the physical activity that I'm aiming for. Then I can transplant that sensation across to my pieces. So let's look at Hannon and Herz, because these two guys feature prominently in fights on social media. If you go on social media, piano social media, that is, forums, and you mention the word Hannon, you're going to get a whole bunch of people screaming, no, he doesn't, he's surely not recommending Hannon. Or we get those that say, I love Hannon, and I do it all the time. So we've got polemic there. Some people will do it, some people will not do it. The problem is not doing it, it's how we're doing it. And if we're doing it according to the instructions, the written instructions, then we're bound to be doomed to tension and a lack of coordination. Hannon himself says, lift the fingers high and with precision. We don't do that anymore. Contemporary trends in piano teaching, we all agree we do not want to isolate and do finger lifting. So this is how it would be done if you were doing it according to the instructions. So let me do it in my left hand, so that I can do this with my right hand. Don't do this. That's finger lifting. Pulling on these tendons here, it's uncoordinated. If we look at Herz, that's H-E-R-Z, Henry Herz. It's got a volume of exercises that you can still buy. You can go into a music shop and buy these things. And his instructions are this: play without any motion whatever in the hand and arm. No, not nowadays, not on our heavy pianos, not on our monster Model Ds, we can't do that. I'm going to, well actually let me demonstrate a Hertz exercise. This is number 84. Right, I'm just going to show you right hand. The idea would be that I'm supposed to put my fingers in the 5-finger position and leave them there. Remember, no movement in the hand and the arm, and I'm supposed to do this. Well, that's all right so far. Getting more and more difficult. Now, why are 3, 4, and 5 feeling weak? Can anybody see why 3, 4, and 5 fingers are feeling weak? Because I'm not aligned behind them. Simple. So what I would need to do to play that better would be just to add a little lateral movement in my wrist. Let me show you. I'm in thumb alignment now. Now I'd want to move a little bit for this, and a little bit more for this. But for me, that's not quite enough movement. It's better than locking, of course. Let me show you how I would want to play that exercise. I would use rotational movements. I would use scalloped movements, what's known as little snippets of wrist circles. Let me show you. I'm totally disobeying Hertz's instructions to keep the hand and the arm still. Can't play it that way. Because what will happen is if I try, the 4th finger is going to feel really weak. And then we think, oh, I know, I must do lots of strengthening exercises for the 4th and 5th finger. No, don't do that. Just move. At that point, my thumb actually is not on the keyboard. And do you notice what else I've done? I've added a little bit of shaping to the sound. So it's not mechanically sounding. But I want to go back and read a short paragraph from Thomas Mark, who wrote a great book, which I highly recommend, What Every Pianist Needs to Know About the Body. A 20th century guy, Thomas Mark, well, 21st as well. Saying that we play the piano with our fingers is like saying we run with our feet. The fingers move when we play and are the only parts of our upper body that touch the piano. Similarly, our feet move when we run and are the only parts that touch the ground. But a runner who tried to improve his running by keeping his legs motionless and doing foot exercises would be ridiculous. He is similar to a pianist who keeps his arms motionless and exercises his fingers, although what the pianist does has the sanction of tradition. Those quotations I read from Hannon and Herz. We play the piano just as we run, by complex, coordinated movements of our whole bodies. It's put beautifully. So if we are going to do Hannon, let me show you how you can do lateral adjustment in the wrist. Each finger feels just as strong as the other, I promise you. And you'll notice again, I'm adding contour. Little crescendo, little diminuendo. That's just lateral adjustment in the wrist, not the elbow, but the wrist. If I wanted to upgrade that to a wrist circle, I could easily use that Hannon number 1 to develop wrist circles. If, let's say, I needed wrist circles in a piece that I was playing. Do you see there? The alignment behind each finger through the wrist, but I'm now making a circular wrist movement. Down, up, drop down on the thumb, lift up on the pinky, not before, but as you play the pinky. There's propulsion upwards. What about the 6th Hannon? Using rotational movements of my forearm as opposed to nasty, tense, lifting fingers. So we can use Hannon. We can use Herz if we really want to, but we have to do them well. We have to do them in line with current scientific understanding of how the body works at the piano. And don't obey instructions from 100 years or more ago from, well, particularly Hannon wasn't even a pianist, he was an amateur organist. So let me just give you an example of something a little bit more contemporary, and I really like this. The Donald Waxman has written a bunch of, I think it's 175, he calls them Exotunes, which are halfway between exercises and etudes. So we've got this little cute one, which is for intervals hand over hand. And what I like about it is it's unpredictable. Thirds, fourths, augmented fourths, fifths, sixths. Isn't that fun? It's not a pattern that just repeats and repeats. It changes. Rhythmically, there are little changes there. But the value of that is wonderful. So you've got intervals that go from unisons to seconds, all the way up to sevenths and then the octave. With hand crossings. Genius little exercise. I'm also a fan of dozen a day, provided the 5-finger ones are done well. But this is now from Book 3, Group 1, and it's entitled The Pushup, and it's the first exercise that we get for double thirds. What's brilliant about this, there's a little diagram, you know, the stick figures. So you've got the stick figure where I'm not going to get down on the floor and demonstrate, but the arms are now on the ground, and then there's the push-up, and then there's the coming back to the arms on the ground. Exactly how we want to start learning double thirds. Let me show you. On the key, up, down. When I do that faster, the movements become smaller. So when we get into the world of grown-up piano playing double thirds, we can make an exercise using a modulating pattern. And I'd like you to understand this modulating pattern because we're going to use it for all sorts of other exercises. I'm going to do it in 5-finger form. You'll see why in a minute. Major, flatten the third, minor, keep the flat 3, add flat 5 for diminished, flat 2, which gives me a kind of dominant 7th into the next key. So then, if I use that pattern of notes for double third exercises, let me show you. Minor, this is slow, flat my 5th, 5th degree that is, now my 2nd degree. The notes that I finish on are the notes that I start on for my next key. And very often, writers of technical exercises will write out maybe 2 or 3 keys, and then they put etc. Meaning you have to have understood the design, you have to know your 12 keys, So you have to use your brain, basically. They're not just writing it all out, they're making you understand. So when we get faster with our double notes, what happens to that push-up? Can we play fast using the push-up? I notice that as I get quicker, the push-up gets converted into vibration. I'm still feeling that that's coming through my wrist. It's a vibration of my wrist. So the idea of the push-up is a brilliant way to develop that particular skill. What about chords? Do we need a book to practice chord exercises? Probably not. We can start off with triads. Do you see how I'm breathing in? I'm breathing out through my wrist here. And then maybe minor. You don't need to write this down. Maybe I change the color in my minor. And then when we get more advanced, we can do 4-note chords, 2 octaves apart. Minor. And up. Minor. I'm not going to bore you by doing them all. I can change my sound. I can do some lighter. I could even do some arpeggiated ones if I wanted to. That's a fantastic warm-up exercise, and it also builds endurance. I hesitate to use the word strength. What I find is between each chord, I lose my position deliberately, and I loosen my hand, then rediscover which is how we play a chord stream. It doesn't matter how fast it is, I've got to release effort between each chord. Octaves, well, what about... Let's say we've done a couple of Bach inventions and we're now ready in our intermediate years to look at octaves. Revisit the inventions. First of all, play thumb. Then play pinky finger. Just make sure the pinky's supported and the technique is good. The technique has to be good for this to function. And then add the octaves. You know? Extensions. Now this is a little bit of a problem actually, because nowadays we piano teachers understand that we don't want to be stretching out between the fingers. It's okay to stretch between thumb and 2, fine, but between the fingers it causes tension. It's just not a very sensible thing to be doing, not a coordinated thing to be doing. So this is Brahms number 8A. Do you notice what I did there? When I address this rising chord, do you see how I'm bringing my arm with me and my wrist with me? So I actually don't feel any stretch. So it becomes an anti-stretching exercise. Just as Opus 10 number 1, Chopin. Do you see how I'm bringing my second finger back to join my hand as soon as I possibly can? I'm avoiding a stretch, like the plague. Yeah, I wanted to show you, finally, an advanced exercise that comes from Rudolf Ganz. Now, there's a book of Ganz exercises called Contemporary and Special. Piano exercises, contemporary, I can't even say it, contemporary and special. You can't buy it, but you can find it online. And what I did was I simply printed off the PDF and bound it, and I've now got it on my shelf. There's a lovely exercise here that's actually from Émile Blanchet, the Swiss colleague. I love the way in the notes here that Blanchet and Mr. Ganz can boast having climbed the Matterhorn together, as if we really needed to know that, but it does add a little bit of value. So the exercise, one of my favorites ideas, and that's two things going on in one hand. So polyphony. On the next note, do you see how that works? We've got fast moving notes between the weak fingers, and the thumb and the second finger are crossing each other. That's really fantastic for the hand, and I use this as a warm-up by adding the right hand in symmetrical inversion. That really makes my hands feel amazing after I've done a little bit of that. So the takeout here is, by all means do exercises, but know why you're doing them. Don't just do them mechanically. Never play mechanically. Never play with bad sound. Never play with a sort of bored, like, oh, I've got to do my exercises. Always find something in them to make them sound good. And do them in moderation and do them for a purpose. I think that's the main thing. It's how you do them that counts. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you the next time.